All right, guys, we are about to get into the next installment of Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters. But first, if you guys wouldn't mind grabbing the subscribe button, I can tell that only 60% of the viewers of these videos are not subscribed. So please go ahead and grab the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It would help the channel out a lot. Let's get into it. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? That's awesome. Unless something tragic has happened. Maybe it has, I don't know. Well, I am coming to you from a new recording place. This is the first video I've recorded for our conversation in the new house. So I am in our new house right now. This will be the guest bedroom, so when you and Hannah and Lewis come visit, this is where you guys will stay. Excuse me. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, right now it's pretty bare. As you can tell, it's really echoey. I'm going to get some more carpet in here. And eventually, as you know, the shed that I sent you a video of, the shed outside is going to become my new study and recording center. So that'll be great. But for now, I get this I can kind of dedicate this space to recording for at least a little bit. So that's pretty cool. You shared a speech, and that speech was let's face it, America isn't the greatest country in the world anymore. And what's funny about that speech is I think it's delivered by one of the main characters from Dumb and Dumber. I think it's the same actor, which is just hilarious. But, well, it's hilarious to see him in a more serious role, that is. That speech, however, I was first introduced to it in high school shortly after that show aired, and I was obsessed with that speech. I thought that it was so good. I was like, oh, he owned them and all this stuff. In fact, my first ever online blog, was called History from a Young Perspective. I posted that video as my first post ever and said, let's discuss this. Nobody ever went to that site, thankfully. I think that was my only post ever, too. Kind of ridiculous, but oh well. Yeah. So that was a nice callback to that speech. And, well, it's an interesting take. I still believe that America is the United States of America, that is the greatest country in the world. And he says, oh, there's no data to support that. And it's like, well, data, what metrics are you using? Because what could be a good thing for one person is a bad thing for another. For example, defense spending. I think it's awesome that we are the top country for defense spending. It means that we like to protect our borders and take care of our people. We're also highest in the number of incarcerated citizens per capita, which could be a double-edged sword. It could mean that we have very strict laws and we're very good at delivering justice, or it means that we are overly zealous to throw innocent people into jail. And I can see both arguments for that. So, yeah, it's a completely subjective argument to make or claim to begin with. The greatest country in the world. By what standards? Who's saying that? Why are they saying it? In what context are they saying it? And then he goes off to say, and you are without a doubt a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask why America is the greatest country in the world. I don't know what the bleep you're talking about. It's like worst generation based on what statistic? What are you looking at? And also, didn't your generation raise this next generation? Like, isn't it your fault then? So wouldn't that make you the worst generation? Like, I don't like this whole chicken or the egg blame game. Like, who actually did what, caused what first, basically. So yeah, that speech was a nice callback. Um, it is something interesting to think about. Have we changed our outlook on uh, what it means to be great? He argued that we used to aspire to intelligence and it didn't make us feel inferior, and now we have people who are just addicted to Tic Tac, which is my word for TikTok. Got that from Dave Ramsey. A whole generation of kids addicted to Tic Tac. Maybe we have shifted uh, our focus as a group to things that are unimportant, and it makes us less great than we used to be. Where we go from there, I don't really know. But today I wanted to share you a story. This is a story that I wrote, actually. I have an idea that this is going to be one day be a story inside of a book. And I don't know if that's gonna happen. But okay. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but for now, here's a story. So the first thing you have to know is that I wrote this a long time ago, and I have not read this since. But hey, we'll try it out, okay? It's a story of some college students who, and it's gonna. One of them is a wrestler, and then and his friend who's also and yeah. Sorry, as I'm talking to you, I'm seeing mistakes that I'm like, why did I ever write that? So, the other thing is, I wrote this a long time ago, and I think that some of my writing has improved. Maybe it hasn't. This is also meant to be inside of a book where as you read it, and so you already know the characters a little bit better, so you're not just thrown into it. But so this is about a wrestling story, and to understand, they're doing specifically a duel. So this is where two college teams line up their weight classes against each other for an evening of wrestling, basically. In college, I believe there's like 11 matches in a duel. I was a wrestler in high school. So that's why I made one of my characters a wrestler. It's something that I know. So to provide a little bit of backstory, Corey had a really good. He was a really good wrestler in high school, but he choked his senior year at the state finals and he lost his chance at a scholarship. And he took a gap year instead because he had no scholarships, no prospects, but he decided that during that year, he decided to train super hard and make the team at one of the most competitive college in his hometown, which for ease, I think it's just called university or something. So anyway, let's just get into it. We'll read this and see how it goes. Corey sat on the locker room bench, waiting for the rest of his team to finish getting dressed. He began thinking of the last few months that got him here, to this place, at this moment. He had lost weight and made drastic changes to his lifestyle. It wasn't easy. 170 is your fighting weight, Coach Chris would remind him at the beginning of every training session. You're 5 foot 11 inches. You need to be light yet retain your natural strength. You can run 3 miles in under 17 minutes and squat 500 pounds, one right after another, well, then we'll know you're ready to put up a fight in that room. Now he had done it. It took everything he had. But he lost 45 pounds, walked into the room, and almost beat Nelson in their wrestle-off. Sure, it was a close call, but Nelson kept his starting position at the 174 weight class, and Corey wrestled up to 184 pounds. Regardless, he was required to stay under 170 pounds just in case ever had to wrestle. Just in case Smith decided to trust him, especially since they were going against State, the best team in the nation, and home to wrestler Jesse Davis. This was going to be Corey's first wrestling match since his finals match in high school when he took third place. Due to an injury in the qualifying tournament a week earlier, he had to essentially wrestle one-handed. Otherwise, he was favored to win it all. In fact, he didn't get any Division I offers because of the results. All the college scouts thought he had choked, but that was neither here nor there. During coffee time earlier that morning, his dad could tell he was nervous. No more wasted time, he told Corey. No more regrets. Well, now he was here. He had made weight, and he was dressed and ready to go, just waiting for a captain to call for warm-up. Except, where was Nelson? He normally led it, but he hadn't come back from his weigh-in. He looked up just as Coach Smith walked into the room, obviously infuriated. "Corey, office, now!" he shouted. Corey complied, not daring to wonder what could possibly be going on. He followed Smith into his office and saw Nelson sitting there. He looked up to see who walked in, obviously distraught by something. Corey had his assumptions, but thought it best to remain quiet. "I hate to put you on the spot like this, and under normal circumstances, I would have forfeited the match," Smith started. "However, I know you also have a personal vendetta that needs resolution. Dummy here," gesturing towards Nelson, "missed weight. You're making your college debut against a 6-time national champion and a 2-time junior international champion, Jesse Davis. Nelson has agreed to make sure you're good and warm. Best of luck to you." And he walked out. Corey paused, trying to take it all in. He knew he would eventually get to wrestle against Jesse, but tonight, his first time on the mat in over 2 years, he wasn't prepared for that. He thought there would be a lead up to it, like in the movies or something. "No," Corey replied. "I want to warm up with Simon." James gently knocked on Professor Wistowski's office door. I'm going to change that name. I don't like it. "Office is closed," James heard the gruff, tired voice say. "Please, sir, it's James. I need your help. It's quite urgent." The door opened promptly, and James walked briskly past the professor. "Always introduce yourself with the knock. You know my coffee pot is always open to you and your friends, even though that Corey prefers drinking all of it. Now, what can I do for you?" "Well, I need a record or two." "Oh, yes, let's see. I believe last time you were in..." Oh my gosh, I made up some weird things back in the day. "I believe last time you were enjoying Doc Watson, the blind folk player. He is a great listening option when solving differential equations," Wistowski said as he ventured toward his long wall of vinyl records. Okay. Maybe I should just skip this part, because this is actually embarrassing. Yeah, I'm going to skip this and go back to Corey. Okay, so Corey is warming up for his wrestling match with Simon. "You stubborn thing," Simon said to Corey as they were warming up. "What? Any other person would be terrified about going against this guy, and here you are telling me about your plan to beat him. Simon, I was robbed from going against him a second time in high school. Now I finally get the chance I've dreamed about since the ref made that terrible out-of-bounds call at junior internationals. All right, I believe in you, Captain. Just make eye contact with him and don't let up. Let's get you prepped. I'll also have a tough match at my weight class." They finished the rest of their warm-up in silence. Corey called them back together to break it down. "All right, boys, we're going up against the best team in the nation. Protect this house. Give it everything you've got. Trojans on 3. With that, they walked out of the wrestling room and into the main gym where opponents, the crowd, and the spotlight waited for them. Once Corey found Jesse, he didn't break eye contact, even when Jesse looked away. Not sure why Simon was having him do this, but he was sure it would help him. And when it was his turn, Corey walked onto the mat, still unwilling to break his stare. That is, until the match was over, and he had to walk off the mat defeated, 3 points to 1. I did not expect to skip some of the things uh, there's two stories that are two plot lines going on at the same time. This very significant night. Um, and I just need to rewrite that other part. I didn't read it before I got on. I was like, hey, I remember this and it'll be a cool story to share. But obviously, man, I just put some things in there that's like, you're such a nerd. Differential equations while listening to a vinyl record. What a pretentious thing to write. Anyway, so yeah, Corey gets his debut, his college debut, and he lost. He's going to lose 3-1. And um, I have big plans for Corey and his wrestling career. And I have big plans for Simon and his future. The first time that I shared this story, I was told you need to include the match to help break it down so that they know. But here's the thing about a wrestling match. No one understands the scoring, and frankly, it is confusing. And then in addition to that, it's really hard to write a wrestling match or a battle scene, like a one-on-one combat. Like, how do you write that in a way that like the reader can visualize it? So it's kind of difficult, but yeah, this whole book is going to be about how timing in our lives is perfect, in that you are where you're meant to be for every given moment, because God has a plan for that moment at that time, every single moment of your life. And that's what I hope this book turns out to be. Like I said, I've been working on this book. These characters came to mind in roughly 2017, and then I started actually writing them down. Very, very. I wrote a lot in 2018 and 19, and then I started dating Crystal, and she kind of took up a lot of time. So these characters have been kind of on a back burner, just like simmering. But like, I think that I have better ideas now, and I think it's time to start picking this piece of work up again. So, yeah, I hope that I hope you kind of enjoyed it. Maybe you have some good feedback for me. What would you enjoy differently? So yeah. Um, well, that is my story, and that's all I have for today on Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters. See you next time.